good evening, and welcome to the 81st episode of the Overcomer's Quest podcast, where we inspire you to find more in your life. Tonight, we have Dr. Bev. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Awesome. So glad that you're here. We're going to have a good time.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome. So, everybody, this is the Overcomer's Quest, where we inspire you to find more in your life by overcoming. And we tell stories of amazing people about what they have overcome in their life. And Dr. Bev, the Reverend Dr. Beverly Boyarsky, is no exception, guys. She is a metaphysician, a hypnotherapist, and an ordained minister. And I have heard another podcast by her. I've talked with her. She's real. She's human. She's overcome the fear of who I am to everyone, death through illness, and pleasing everyone because she wants to be authentic. And these are all human challenges. She's done some incredible things in history that I want to hear all about. And it's about how she looked up at change in her life fitting and how she overcame that. Today's theme is being grateful and sharing your purpose despite what happens to you in your life. Dr. Bev, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this.
It's an honor. And so, what is your tell me about your life? What makes you tick?
Wow. 64 years is a long time, and I don't want to speak the whole time about it. But I grew up in New Jersey and always knew I was gay from the time I was young. But back in the 60s, you never brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very difficult, not living my truth. And I came across a lot of negativity, not for that, but that I was Jewish. And I had a lot of negative things happen to me when I was in elementary school. I was in a community that I thought was open to everyone. But unfortunately, there were a lot of anti-Semitic people in the town that I lived in, and especially in elementary school. And one day in catechism, I guess they called it back then, where the kids went to school, they were told that the Jews killed Jesus. So they were all waiting for me outside to beat me up because
they like what, 6 or something?
Elementary school, yeah, young elementary school. So I learned how to fight at a very young age. My parents did go to the priest and explained, that's, if you can read your Bible, there's more to it than that. So I was able to get through it until middle school. And then again, they started throwing pennies at me. And I didn't know from this stuff. I mean, my family was so open-minded about everyone and anything. It didn't matter who you were, what religion, what color, anything, your ethnicity. So I learned at a very young age, I needed to be strong, So struggling through my sexuality, and now I've got religious problems. I went to college being closed. I didn't tell anyone I was gay because I was going to be a teacher. So I had a lot of illnesses. I never felt well because I was holding a lot of things in. And it wasn't until I was 28 that I met someone that counted, and I came out to my family.
Okay.
And it seemed to have changed my life. But I never told anybody else, like not professionally or anything. And I went from teaching to being an editor of a magazine, and then I got into public relations. And I did that for 25 years. And my first public relations job in Jersey, I was doing a great job. I mean, I know I was on television a lot. I was a spokesperson. And one day my boss called me into the office. And this was 1986.
Okay.
Said, "You Jew? You're a Jew?" I went, "Excuse me? You're a Jew, right?" "Yeah, why?" He goes, "You're fired. We don't want any of that here." Now, here I am, an adult.
Right.
Working in a hospital. But we didn't have laws back then about anything. So needless to say, it was very upsetting. It was around the time I came out, but they didn't know that. I mean, that nobody knew about that. So here I am, okay, at 28 years old, I can't work at the job I love because I'm Jewish. We called an attorney. There was nothing I could do about it. So here we go again. We're starting this all over again. went about my life, my career. Everything was great. I had a great relationship with someone. I moved to New York, had great jobs. I was moving up in the ladder in my life. I worked for the National Office of the American Lung Association, and I traveled all over the country. I went to the White House with Reba McEntire. I worked with a lot of celebrities doing press conferences with the Kennedys, and I had a great life. And I was living in Queens at the time, and my nephew was born, so I decided to go back to Jersey for a year, and I got recruited to work on Long Island in New York at a big hospital. So I'm like, okay, life is great. I'll move to New York. I always wanted to live on Long Island. At that time, I was single again, so I'm like, this is good.
Okay.
And was at the job about 7 months. Great job. I was the spokesperson. A lot of stuff happened. You'd see me on all the TV shows, you know, on the newscasts and everything. And I had to go out for a minor surgery for a couple of days. And when I got, right before I went out for my surgery, I was performing in bars. I was singing. I'm a musician as well. So I was singing, and I happened to be singing in women's bars. But again, I wasn't out.
Right.
And one of my coworkers, right before, I remember it was like a day or two before I was going out on, like, for a couple of days for surgery, which I was having done at that hospital. My coworker said to me, "Oh, you singing this weekend?" "Yeah." "In Queens?" "Yeah." "On Cherry Lane?" "Yeah." "You know that's a women's bar?" "Yeah." "But it's lesbian bar." "Right." I said, "Women love women singers."
Mm-hmm.
And right then, something was going on in my head. Like, how did they know? I realized that there was a lesbian publication back then. You could only get it at the bars, called Zappho's Isle, and my picture was in it, advertising that I was going to be singing. So obviously, the person that asked me that question had seen that article. So
had access to the paper, right?
So someone picked it up at the bar. So I thought about it, but I'm like, let me let this go. So I was out for some minor surgery. I got a pink slip in the mail within a couple of days that I had no longer had a job.
And they didn't have to talk to you or say anything.
Well, I was like, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
And then I went back to, did it have to do with that conversation I had? It's against the law now. It was like 1992.
Okay.
So HR called me and they said, we'd like to talk to you about, the job. And I'm like, yeah, I really don't want to be bothered. I said, I'm really insulted that I work at a hospital. I'm having minor surgery and you fired me by sending me a pink slip. Well, you really need to come in for your exit interview. Well, I don't want to. Okay, I'll come in. Walked in. HR person opens the door. Come on in, Beverly. Sit down, closes the door. And she said, you want to know why you were fired? I said, that's why I'm here, because you're gay. And I said, that's against the law. So you're going to go with me to an attorney? Oh, no, I'll lose my job if I do. So I had peace of mind knowing that it wasn't my work.
Yeah.
But I also was very upset that in the early 90s, that as good as I was at my job, they were going to let me go. And they recruited me to move to New York to do this. And I called an attorney, but because the person wouldn't back me up, there was no proof. So I decided that was it. I was never going back in the closet again. And I got hired that next year to be the assistant director of communications for Gay Games 4 in New York City, which was the largest sports and art festival in the world.
Wow.
There were thousands and thousands and thousands of gay athletes and theater people who came into Manhattan in 1994 they called it the Gay Olympics, but it was open to everyone.
Okay.
It was open to everyone, but New York City, Queens, Brooklyn, it was all for 2 weeks. People came from all over the world to do sports. They had theater. It was like all famous people were there. And we had the opening ceremonies at Yankee Stadium. I mean, it was a big deal. And boy, did I come out of the closet then. I was on every TV station, newspaper. You could not see me that year. And I said, I will never, ever hide who I am again from anyone.
Okay, I have a question. That's awesome. And as you know, we talked about backgrounds. I have never been there. So what was it like to be fired for who you are and then face that and overcome that in a dramatic way? How did you handle that? How did you overcome?
Well, it was really hard because it was hard enough coming out to people I loved,
Yeah.
and
By
not
the way,
everybody was open.
Hello. So hello. Hopefully that was a friend. Usually I do that and they go, yay, yay. Okay, sorry.
Not everybody was so accepting of me. I had friends who had been friends with me since high school that husbands didn't want me to hang around with their wives anymore because they were threatened by me. And I thought, I'm still the same person. You're just knowing who I am authentically now. I'm not after your wife or your girlfriend.
Right.
To this day, I still don't identify. I'm Beverly. Man, woman, gay, straight, Jewish, spiritual. I don't care. I'm Beverly. Yeah. This is who you're going to get to know. So
being military, we see things the similar way. I was hanging out at Ferguson in St. Louis a few years ago, and I think some of the original Black Lives Matter folks were there. And I said, I just see who you show me to be. I don't really see race. And they looked at me like I was nuts. Of course, biologically, you can't ignore color and sex. You just can't. Gender, right? I don't want to get into the debate and everything, right? But you tend to notice. But beyond that, you show people who you are, right?
I think that's more important, to be authentic in who you are than lie or just pretend. Like I said, I'm white. You see that.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, I may look like a gay woman. That's okay. I'm all right with that. But whatever it is, I mean, people don't know who I am other than who I present myself as, right? So when it came time to come all the way out, I was just proud at that point. And it was funny because my parents hadn't told anybody because my mom was struggling with a little. And it wasn't so much that I was gay, but that I had lied all those years. And she said, we've been so close all these years and you never were honest with me. And I said, I was afraid. I couldn't even tell myself. I didn't know what it was, And when I finally realized, and then my parents were cool. They actually even came to Yankee Stadium to the ceremonies and they're like, wow, this is really good. And as long as you're happy and I ended up getting married and having a child and, things happened. But that initial, oh my gosh, was when my father was swimming at the Y. And he never told anybody about his gay daughter.
Right.
And he said he was coming out of the pool and one of the priests that swam with him every morning said, was that your daughter on TV last night? And he's like, yeah. Why? He goes, oh, that's really cool. That's really great. You should be proud of her. And after that, it was like, no big deal. My parents were like, oh, that's good. Everybody's accepting the fact that here I am on TV being proud. And I'm just reporting on what's happening in New York City. There was no flamboyant people running around and having sex. Like everybody, as soon as they think of gay, they think of sex. It's not about that at all. It's who I am. I was born this way. I love a woman. So, okay. That doesn't define me. So it was pretty cool but it was not only New York, United States. I was all over the world being interviewed. So yeah, I didn't go back in after that. So anytime after that, it was just, this is me,
I agree. And I do remember that I worked for Dutch military and it had been over there for years and years. And they're like, what's your problem? So I did have that influence. You mentioned that you had to be honest with yourself. How was that? Because you got fired from this job and maybe it was a smack in the face, right?
Of course, because I hid in college. I was a physical education major, okay? Now, if that doesn't scream lesbian, I don't know what does, because most gym teachers are gay, or I shouldn't say that. But that was funny because I hid. I was straight.
The stereotype is what you're saying.
I was straight in college, as far as everybody knew. I wasn't, but I just didn't participate or let people know. And it wasn't until I graduated college. I went to my first lesbian bar at like 23 years old, and I walked in and people were like, we never knew. I said, I didn't want to risk not being hired as a teacher. Because back then you couldn't be gay, because I couldn't even get into Big Brothers Big Sisters for a while because they knew I was gay. Now thank God things have changed,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But yeah, it was,
The military is you try to be gray man. It's very similar.
yeah, absolutely. But just now, becoming authentic with myself, it made my life so much better that I could be who I was in the workplace. But then I came across other things as I moved on in my career in public relations. I was in the boys club at my level as a director. And no matter what job I went into, I was never invited to the tennis matches or the golf tournaments. I didn't get the salary that everybody else got, but I did twice as much work. And I had staff all over the country working for one company in particular. And I even was told at my last corporate job, which was in 2004, I asked for a raise and I was getting paid $30,000 less as my male counterpart. And I asked why. Because you're a woman and because he has a family. And I said, I have a wife and son. It's different. You're a woman. 19, and this was in 2004. And again, I would have to go to an attorney. Here we go again. And by the time that happens, you're out of job. You don't want to work for them anymore. So it's like my whole life, I was hitting walls, no matter what it was, being a woman, being gay, whatever it is, and so I learned to accept, and I think a lot of it was built in me that I just was angry. I mean, I'm a very peaceful person, but I was just so angry that I said, here I am. I'm a minority, but yet my son is African American. So I saw what he was going through. And it's just very interesting how things change as you move on.
Sure. I'm also American Indian. I'm Chickasaw Indian as well.
Wow.
And so you look at our history and I can relate on that plane as well, because, you ever see Flag of Our Fathers, Adam Beach, pushed out and Injun and all those things. I mean, I never really related to the reparation or the historical things, but listening to this last week, it was the Chickasaw Conference of Dynamic Women. And I'm like, wow, these women are like me. And there's common trends, and you're surprised by it because you think you're the only one. How about that? Maybe that's something powerful to talk about, because you went through that. You thought you were the only person like that. What would you say to someone that is facing that in your shoes?
You're not alone. And the good thing now is that you can go on the internet and have support groups to work with, because that saved me. I mean, luckily there was another woman manager who I was able to talk to about some of this stuff, because you need to be able to talk to somebody. You can't just keep it in yourself. And I would say we've come a long way. I know that was a saying back in the day with Virginia Slims. We've come a long way, baby. But we have. Unfortunately, we're going a few steps back now again. But just keep lines of communications open with people. And again, you get involved in a lot of groups. I actually am now getting into networking again, since I've moved from New York to Florida in the last year. So I'm beginning to network, and you find out a lot of stuff that way by just finding out what works, what doesn't work, and who to talk to, not to talk to. But I just remember I was called a bitch, but the men are strong.
Yes.
But I'm a bitch because I had something to say. I had a voice. I still have a voice, but I've always had a voice. I didn't keep quiet. I used to be an introvert. I'm far from it now. I think my singing had got me out there, and then being a spokesperson, you can't be shy. So I'm not shy in a room. Like if there's 100 people, I'm going to meet each one of those people. That's just who I am now. But you just, it's so wrong to think of women as bitches just because I have an opinion and I'm strong. I'm a strong woman, and I'm short. I'm only 5'3", so I couldn't get a job in a high school when I come out of college to teach phys ed and health, because they said I wasn't strong enough. I was too weak. So they put me in an elementary school. And I'm like, but I want to teach high school. I want to coach. I was a professional tennis player. I said, I want to coach tennis. No, you'll never make it at 5'3". So even then I was discriminated for my size. So it seems like everywhere I went.
Have you ever read, on the bitch comment, have you ever read Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In? So it's she was with Facebook, I believe, and it was all a book about women networking in circles. So I'm getting ready to get out of the Air Force in about 2013. I had been overseas for 10 years straight in the Pacific and Europe, and I come back to America. And there's this Secretary of Defense letter that says, lenient groups are groups for women. Well, the men went, screw that, And so I kind of learned that dynamic. And later on, there were groups, and I love great men. Don't get me wrong. I love great women, here as well. And there's this in this book, she talks about how they took a resume. Here's your resume, a resume of a really accomplished lady, and they put a guy's name on top of it and pronouns, and they floated both of them around, and they really liked his, but they said that she was aggressive and that she was too much. And I went to this veterans entrepreneurial thing up in Syracuse with the university up there. I was talking to a guy that had been an aide for a female congressman, because I hadn't really thought about it. And he said that we vilify our female leaders in this country that I love and have served my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And we're challenged in doing something that's different. So I don't know the answer, but I just found it interesting. And when I heard about the difference in the resume treatment, I'm like, wow, maybe there's a different reason that I have also struggled through the things I've gone through more than what I realized. Because you're always like, well, what did I do?
Right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, I tried to be the best I could, no matter what I did. I never got paid enough. I worked the long hours. I worked myself almost to death. And that's where we're in this part of my life now, where in 2004, after being in corporate America all these years, I started not feeling well. And I was working in a hospital in Long Island at the time. And I went to, a good 12 doctors, at least. Every possible specialty I could think of. Oh, Beverly, you work too long an hour. Now, I was on call, so I was 24/7. The phone rang and ABC called me. I had to pick up the phone at 3:00 in the morning because there was an accident at the hospital or something. Okay. So I knew that. And I also was president of this board, president of that board. I mean, I was a workaholic. But I just didn't feel good. And the doctor, oh, Beverly, you're stressed. Go see a psychiatrist. Take an antidepressant. Go on vacation. You get over it. I'm like, you don't understand. I don't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Went to this, same thing. Go on vacation for a while. You're a woman stressed. You're at that age. Now, I've been an athlete my whole life. And at that time, I was bodybuilding. Not seriously, but I was pretty buffed and I was good shape. I was getting weaker and weaker and weaker to a point that I would be driving home and not knowing where I was going. I don't know how I got home. One day, I remember sitting at the computer with my hands, typing, and I couldn't even keep my hands up anymore. And my secretary comes in and she slams the door. Now, she was as sweet as can be. She slams this, goes, what the hell's wrong with you? And I'm like, what? She goes, something is wrong with you. I said, I know, but nobody's believing me. She goes, there's something really wrong with you. You're not remembering anything I've told you. I'm like, I know. So I went into my boss and I said, there's really something wrong with me. I got to figure this out. So he sent me to another doctor and the same thing. Well, yeah, your blood's off a little bit, but. So he said, why don't you take vacation for a week? All right. Well, I never went back to work. I got so sick during that point. I couldn't swallow. I kept dropping things. I'd fall. I got so bad that I was bedridden and in a wheelchair. It took 1.5 years for one doctor to finally say, yeah, you're sick. They were trying to experiment. They're like, we don't know what's wrong with you. It's got to be psychological because you're a woman. But one doctor in Manhattan finally said to me, did they not look at your blood work? Did they not look at you as a whole person? Because, they look at symptoms or, they listen to, but this person looked at me as if I am a whole person, top to bottom. And he's like, you're very sick. And I'm like, thank you. And he's like, what do you mean, thank you? I said, you believe me. And what a relief that was to me. Like, wow. someone really believes me now after a year and a half. At that point, my company fired me because I was too sick to work, but not sick enough to get disability. So here I had a mortgage payment. Thank God my mom was still alive at the time, was able to help me out a little bit. I had to hire an attorney with money I didn't have. I used my whole 401k to live, and the attorney won the case. You know, I was able to get disability for a while, but nobody should have to go through that.
No, no.
And it took a long time to get diagnosed. I have an autoimmune disease. They did a lot of experimental treatments. As you can see, I'm doing pretty good. I have, because of I don't know if it's because of my illness or people just liked me. Around the time that I was so sick, I was given one of the biggest awards in public relations that anybody could ever get in New York. I was named Queen of Mardi Gras, and I got to be in the front of the gay pride parade and as a grand marshal and wave to everybody. So I'm like, is it because I'm dying or they really like me? You know, but it's interesting how that all happened at one time. But I appreciate that people cared so much about me to honor me in that way, you know. But it was many years of struggle, and it got so bad that I had decided to commit suicide.
Oh my.
I don't like to talk about it, but I think it's important for people that are going through things. You know, here I was, a successful professional woman, athletic, I thought pretty smart, and I was in bed. I couldn't swallow. And I remember sitting at the kitchen table with my son, and he's crying because he's like, what's wrong with you? Like, I try to eat and I would choke because every muscle in my body was affected by the disease. It's called polymyositis. So your muscles are killing each other. So I couldn't do this anymore. I mean, what kind of life is it that, you know, you're a workaholic and everything, and then you can't even go to the bathroom yourself, feed yourself. My father was dying at the same time. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So I decided this was going to be the day. And I lined up all my pills. And I can't explain it other than I had one of those aha moments, a divine intervention, let's call it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm calling it. There was a voice, a very nondescript voice that came through to me in the middle of the day. It was the middle of the afternoon. Because if I had done it, my son would have come home from school and found me. Okay.
Yeah.
And I also know that my mother would have lost my father and me. I know what that would have ended up. She would have killed herself. So this voice came to me and said, you're not done yet. And I'm like, and I remember, I'm like, I stood up and I'm like, I didn't take anything. I am awake. And with that again, Beverly, you have a lot of living to do. And I couldn't tell if it was a male, female voice. I was never ultra religious, but it was like, ooh. And with that, I remember I laid down and I closed my eyes and I was like, okay, you're not imagining this. And I opened my eyes and on the ceiling were the words metaphysics. I had never seen that word in my life. So I'm like, well, that's a message. So I wrote it down. I had a piece of paper on the side of my bed. I wrote it down. And I didn't say anything to anybody. I didn't even tell anybody what I was going to do. I put everything away. And about, I guess, a few days later, I decided to get on a computer and read what that was. And that was the beginning of who I am today. A new me. I read what it was. I was ravishing through.
So what was it to you at that point?
It was time to make a change. This was time for me to stop. I needed someone to stop me, totally stop me in order to live. So my illness was the beginning of my new life.
I can relate to you. Because, you know, I see a friend of mine that was at the Air Force Academy came down with MS. And I think it was from her accumulated stress. So I had that hypothesis. And I don't have the same stresses. but things happened to me, and female and a male dominant, all those things. And I would go like this and get sick and back, up and down, what you described. And then in 2017, when I had to move out of my narcissist, alcoholic, emotional abuse thing, he didn't have physical abuse because there's no capacity. And I was just trying to make everybody happy over and over again. And that winter in Illinois, it gets kind of cold. Southern Illinois outside of St. Louis. And I just knew I was not going to survive. And the Mayo Clinic, I quote them, they say, women are afraid to leave until they're afraid to stay. And my strength is I build good support networks. I know who to trust in my life.
Very important.
Yeah, survival. And literally, my dog, one of these dogs that we had, I have amazing dogs, but one had too much street, and my legs were bitten. And I moved out later that weekend after, having a place on the lake and 6 months of things. And the day that happened, I had the keys to the house I was going to move into in my pocket already, because a friend said I could put some boxes there. So I believe in putting it out there, believing who you are, and saying, God, for years I said, God, I'm just hanging here, and I'm making it because you're helping me, whatever whoever that God is, whatever you're showing to me. And he's shown himself to me in some crazy ways. In 1998, I was at the Brownsville Revival with Holy Laughter. And so I know a real God, and the Holy Spirit and all those amazing things that I don't say for effect, but that's the God who made the universe and who made those mountains, and he loves all of us. And that's right. Real.
That's right.
So when I had to move out of that house, I wasn't going to live again. And so I get it. Something had to stop me too. And this show is out of that. So I respect you that you were down there. So what happened to bring you back up?
Something.
Like I prayed for 6 months, and I prayed, and then God started moving, right?
Well, it was just that those words, the metaphysics, is like, okay, what does that mean? So I read what it was, and
what is it?
It's everything. You know how you see things in the world. Okay, I see you and everything. It's everything that is around us, but you're not seeing.
Ooh.
Of everything above and beyond physics.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
I think so.
Yeah. So it's the subconscious.
Okay.
It's things above and beyond that we don't see. Things, energy.
Okay. All kinds of things.
Yeah. It's anything and everything you can think about that are not.
In terms of
you can't put your hand on. You're surrounded with so much good energy. God. I mean, we don't. But it's everything that is beyond the physical.
Okay.
So
that's faith.
That's correct. So I found a school in Sedona, Arizona that I could go online. Yeah. And I was able to get my master's and doctorate in metaphysical science. And through that, I also became an ordained interfaith minister. Okay. So my life started to evolve to something else. Now, I was always very open to talking to people. Like I've always
been. What year was this?
2007.
Okay, go ahead.
2006, 2007.
All right.
I sat down at the computer, got accepted into the school, and started my work.
You're always open to talking to people. Go ahead.
Right. I've always been a good listener. They used to call me the Dear Abby of my friends. I always knew I could solve. And as a manager in work situations, I took management classes. So I could always figure things out. I always had to figure things out. And I was a trainer of the trainers. So I would teach managers how to be managers. So being a leader and doing all this, I'm like, okay, I can do this. So it took me, let's see, I started in 2006. 2008, I got my master's and became an ordained minister. And then in 2010, I finished my doctorate. I did my master's thesis on reincarnation, which was fascinating. And then I did my doctoral dissertation on my spiritual awakening that I just told you about. And I interviewed people all over the world because of the internet, people that have chronic and terminal illnesses, how they are living despite their diagnosis. So I interviewed people for that. And I told about my aha moment. And there was a purpose. And I was able to go to Sedona. My mom was still around, so she came with me. My wife at the time went with me. And it was, what an experience. I was bedridden all those years. And through my schoolwork, I was getting treatments and healthier. But I think it was changing this. It was, yes, I'm grateful for my doctors, especially my Dr. Ramari. He was in Smithtown, New York. He's the one that insisted that I try this chemotherapy treatment. And he's the reason I'm still here today.
I also have one. As I moved out, the year before I moved out, I prayed for like 5 years to find a nature doctor. And I found one in my church that I love them and still love them, but there was a disagreement because of the abuse. And they left for different reasons. And he still keeps me healthy today so that women burn out our adrenals.
Oh, yes.
Inflammation, that whole thing is a source of sickness, I believe, at a fundamental level. So I still take like adrenal tonic and these things. And so there was a nutritional solution for me. And he says, I believe food should heal. So therefore, I support you. I relate to you. That's I just want to support you because you can get better in despite of it all.
Yeah. So I kept a positive attitude, and then I got to Sedona. Okay. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with this degree? And I met somebody that was a hypnotherapist, and I was fascinated because I had studied that besides everything else. I studied the Bible. I did all this other stuff,
like Milton Erickson stuff.
Oh yeah, you name it, I studied them. And I came back to New York, and I found the best hypnotherapy school, and I actually went into the classroom for the first time in decades, and I was like a sponge. I couldn't get enough, and with that, now I have my doctorate in metaphysical science. I am a minister and I'm a hypnotherapist, and I've been practicing. I practiced until COVID. Then I've since moved down to Florida. I'm starting practicing again. I was working at a church for a while as a minister, but I decided I wanted to work more on getting out in the community and speaking because people want to hear what I have to say. And I'm able to help people, mind, body, and spirit. And I know people think woo-woo when they hear about hypnotherapy, but let me tell you, it's not that at all. I'm actually giving a lecture in 2 weeks to religious leaders in Florida on what hypnotherapy is because they're open to hearing what I have to say. Because there's more to than modern medicine, and there's alternative, holistic, other ways, because stress is the number one big deal now. Mental health is in our society is terrible. There's too many suicides now with all these mass killings. There's got to be ways. Like I feel sorry for the teachers going back next year that they have to think about, now I got to protect my kids from shooting. We have to protect everyone, and whatever we can do to get their mental health in a better spot. I don't care what it is, other than pills. There's things to do.
Like I'm getting my life coaching certification from ICF soon, and then like I told you, when the pandemic hit, I went and got an NLP certification, which was the scariest thing in the world for me as well. But it is really the most intense applied listening you'll ever find.
It's awesome.
And you're completely aware. And several really strong Christians and people that come from a very conservative viewpoint that I came from are with me there. That's awesome. And it's a dynamic that it really works because we're healers.
Yes.
And that's what matters the most, more than legalism or dogma, because that's the God that we serve. That's the God that we love. I don't care what you look like. Maybe that's what I learned in the military, but we love people.
That's right. That's right. So that's for me now. I'm just here. I'm here for a reason. I believe my God, whoever that is, universal one. We all have. I have my own God, who I speak to every day. I meditate. I pray. Whatever I have to do. I put the white light around me when I'm going to see clients because I don't want to get their energy. But there's something to this energy, because I think about years ago how friends would be sick, and I'm like, well, I hope I don't get that cold. And of course I did, because I said it. So it's better. I've learned you got to stay positive all the time. Keep a positive attitude. Keep negative energy away from you. Like people that talk negative all the time, I'm like, you have to stop that right now.
That's right. Even I subscribed to Gaia recently, and they started out this whole thing about sound and music. And, I just went on a Dave Kai's jazz cruise and Power of Healing, and, a Jewish gay man that I love to death. He's helped me for 30 years. I could be with his music and be by myself for years, going through everything, 6 deployments, all that. And they start out saying, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. So you speak, and there's that energy, and the darkness, the light shone in the darkness, and the darkness has not understood it. Right? I mean, there's just dynamics of truth.
Yeah, that's right. And I said, you don't have to be in any specific religion or anything. God is who it is to you, whoever that is, and spirituality, whatever it is. Just you have to believe in something. There's something, and I mean, as a minister, I've married a lot of couples, and I remember marrying an atheist with a Catholic. He was an atheist, his mother was an atheist, but the bride was Catholic. So they asked me to just do a ceremony that wouldn't be upsetting to them, and I'm like, "Are you okay with love?" Yeah. So after the wedding, both the groom and the groom's mother said, "Wow, like you really got to me." And I said, "Well, God is love. And whatever it is you believe or don't believe, well, there is a higher being here that brought you two together and is blessing you." And I said, "Just believe in yourself and you'll see. You'll see." Because like I said, your God is different than my God, but we all believe in this. There's one God. There is one God here. And that's why I love interfaith, because I get to learn about all the different religions and all the holidays. And it's neat to do all of that. But there is something bigger and better than all of that.
The world teaches you that as well.
Yeah.
There's more than one solution to our issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I just can't believe in a God that doesn't love us all. I don't know the answer to the rest of it.
No.
And I've never really, they're not profitable arguments to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
What is useful of hating someone because they look different than me?
I was just having a discussion
Yeah.
on Facebook in my community. My town is very GLBT friendly. A lot of 60s hippies here, all artists. So it's anything goes. And in Florida, that's very unusual because I have to be careful outside of my area, just looking at people strange.
Because of senior communities and stuff? Is that
So,
right?
outside, well, no, just guns everywhere. People don't like the way you look, they'll shoot you. I hate to say that, but it's God's honest truth, and I'm like insulated in my little town here, coming from New York where everything was, I felt safe. And I came down to Florida thinking, okay, it'll be fine. And it's not only being gay, but being Jewish. There's a lot of anti-Semitism here. So it's sad. So it's Gay Pride Month, and everything's been cool here. I mean, everybody's very open. Like I said, they're all hippies down here, so it's neat. People walk on those shoes and socks, and with the dreadlocks and the flowy dresses. It doesn't matter. It's all cool. But on one of the websites on Facebook today, somebody made a nasty remark about there's too many gay flags in town or something, and I'm like, oh, and then also the Rays, our baseball team, for Gay Pride Night, they were giving out baseball caps, and some of the players refused to wear them. 5 of the players refused to wear them. So there was a whole argument about that. And I said, "Isn't love is love, and it doesn't matter who we are." And this woman went off on me. "This isn't New York, and thank God you go back to New York." And I'm like, it's not about where I'm from. It's like we are all God's children, and we're supposed to love each other. And you're hating on me, and you don't even know me. And yes, we have the right to make a decision about things, but don't hate. People are spewing ugliness, and I don't get that. I don't get that as a human being.
I talked about Ferguson before when I was back there, and I was hanging out with the entrepreneurs here in St. Louis, and we were talking about why did this happen, and I realized there was James, who ran the Black Film Festival in town, and me and a group of white men, and he says, "Why am I the only one in here?" And my point was that I had the courage to say at that day and time was that what you just said is we need more contact between people. Is I need to look at you and talk with you, and regardless whether I can touch you, you and I've connected in this discussion, because now is the only thing that's happening for both of us.
That's right.
And we're reaching an understanding. And this whole podcast has been an education about that. And everyone should seek out to truly understand what we're about. What's that other person? How do they face the things in their life? How do they find courage? How do they exhibit loyalty? We all do that.
That's right.
And don't be operating by fear. That's the only way you overcome it.
I don't understand. Like I said, I know I was brought up a certain way, and then when I meet people that are so opposite of me, it's like,
Sorry, I'm coming off so strong, but I believe
no, it's true, but it hurts me. Like I'm an empath, so I feel everything. So it hits me extra hard, and I just I don't understand all the hate, and I feel like we're going backwards a lot now, back to where we were, and with the Roe v. Wade, and now they want to take away same-sex marriage. I'm like, can't we just get along together? Like, there's more important things. They're killing children right now in schools. Nobody, there's murders every. Can we deal with this? I can't solve the world's problems, but I can try in my own world to do the best I can to bring peace. And in any way I can do that, I try to spread love and just speak my truth.
Yeah. Well, what would you say? Let's see the kind of people we could speak to. If someone's looking up and they don't know themselves, what would you say to them?
You need to get inside yourself.
How do you do that?
Being quiet with yourself. Mm-hmm. I tell people, if you can't meditate or pray, go to your favorite place. Not in your bed or in your house. Go outside. Is there a favorite spot under a tree that is quiet that you like? Do you like the water? Do you like to go down to the ocean, to a lake? Is there a favorite place from when you were a child that just brings you peace? Go sit there. Take time for you, just you. Don't tell anybody where you're going. Just go and sit there and be silent. And just think of all the wonderful things in your life. What are you grateful for? And concentrate on that. And listen to that connection of your heart to your mind. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell people just to take some deep breaths, let things go, and just appreciate now. Tomorrow isn't promised. I learned that. I mean, unfortunately, my illness is back again and I have to go through treatment, but I'm trying to, and I'm allowed to feel sad. I'm allowed to cry every couple of days here and there. But I've decided right now I'm doing everything I want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to live my life the best I can. And every morning when I open my eyes, I say thank you. Because I'm grateful that I am here now in this place, talking to you, having people listen to what I have to say. And not everybody's going to agree with me, but I'm being authentic and transparent all the time of who I am.
Beautiful.
And I just want peace and love. And maybe that's being crazy, but that's what I want in my life. And that's what I'm trying to have in my life. And if there's negative coming in, I push it away. And I tell my clients the same thing. Like I had a client of mine who just was going through major heart surgery and scared out of his mind. And I'm like, every time that negative or fear comes in, say no. And if it means just like in the air pushing, and he's like, that works. So it's just staying centered in your space, in your happy place, and being grateful for what you have, not for what you don't have. Oh, I don't have the $1 million house, and I don't have the car I wanted, or I don't have the husband or wife.
Right.
What do you have? What are you grateful for right now? Live in this moment. Enjoy right now and be grateful for it and live that way. And again, you're allowed to have hiccups along the way. We all have stress every day.
Right.
But for this time now, be grateful. Appreciate every moment that we are here.
That's right. And, there's also a common thing where you have to struggle. I just bought some easy buttons.
Oh, from Staples, the easy button?
Yeah. That was easy, and just a way to help some people in my life and me realize that it doesn't come from somebody. I would get sick sometimes and everything would just work out because I wasn't trying so hard.
The more you think about it, the harder it is. If you just let it go and let God, right? Don't we always say that's good? And one of the mantras I tell everybody.
I'm going to close the door. My dog is barking. One moment.
Okay.
This is actually, there we go. Keiko. I have these amazing Shiba Inus. This is not a wall. Anyway. Thank you. Go ahead.
So what I say is to everybody, if you say this one mantra every day, it will be so much better. Every day, in every way, I get better and better.
That's right.
And look in the mirror and say that to yourself. Love yourself. Love your life. Don't take it for granted because tomorrow is not promised.
That's so right. So what do you think about living at your purpose then?
You have to. What's the point otherwise? Like, I never knew what my purpose. I thought my purpose was just to work and be, enjoy life. Now it's like I was given a purpose. Like every time I see a client and I get that, I help them.
Yeah.
But I always give kudos to the person because I give you the tools. It's what you do with them that matters. But I say thank you to my higher spirit every time I have success because it was he or she that gave me the gift to be able to help other people. And it was through this illness that I am now living my best life. And I don't know how long I have, and I pray to God I have a long time. But I am going to continue enjoying every single day because that's what I want to do. And no one's going to stop me.
Amen. That's so good. And the God that I serve is big enough. I don't have to defend him. That's what I felt before. If he really made those mountains, as I call him, I don't have to defend him. It's not my job. I've never felt that. I said I was in Pensacola with the revival and these big missionaries and all these things. It's like, okay, that's your burden. That's not mine. He's God. Mine is to be me.
That's right.
So maybe it's a good time to ask our kind of our questions.
Okay.
What is your superpower, your passion, Dr. Bev?
I think my superpower, my passion, I have a lot of passion.
Go for it.
It's different than my superpower. My passions are music because when I'm on stage singing, nothing else matters. It's the best high in the world. I love photography and my dog, my little Charlie. I have a little Charlie.
What kind?
He's a mutt, a little 10-pound mutt. He looks like a little Jack Russell.
Oh, cool.
But I believe my superpower is being a good listener. I've always been a good listener, but I realize how good of a listener I am right now because I can just keep my mouth closed. I could look you in the eye and hear everything you say, and I will hear you out. If you want my opinion or my advice, I'll give it. If you don't, I don't need, but I just feel that I have that gift to take it in and really hear you. I think that's important, to really hear what a person has to say. You could yes them to death, but that's not listening and actually taking it in. I appreciate when people share things with me. I acknowledge that. I'll tell them, I hear you, I see you. So that's my superpower.
That's cool. Nice. So for your life to work right, what are your 3 non-negotiables?
Well, number 1, I need honesty. If someone isn't honest with me, I could see right through them. I'm very good at reading body language, and it's all in the eyes. So if someone's not honest with me.
What does it look like when they're not honest? They're not making eye contact?
Yeah, they're not making they're looking down or fidgeting, or their arms are crossed like this.
Shifty eyes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And along with that goes transparency.
Mm-hmm.
I think just being, you don't want to tell me something, that's fine, but I'm going to be transparent. This is who I am. Take it or leave. That has nothing to do with being honest. I'm see-through. This is it. So that's everything. The third thing that's not negotiable, I don't know. I don't know that I have a third thing. I think
you said compassion before.
Passion? Yeah, that's
compassion.
Yeah, compassion is important. I don't want somebody that has no feelings for anything. Somebody that really feels something for others is good, but not just, okay, you take care of it. I want someone that wants to be all in and be part of a solution,
Beautiful. So this is our crescendo question. If everything about you and your life and your experience and all that made you into Dr. Bev were blown away, and there was one nugget of a thought that remained as your legacy on earth as we know it, what would it be?
She served a purpose here, because I never really knew what that was until I was spoken to. And it said, you're not done here. And now I realize I wasn't. I was meant to come here and speak to people like I am right now, to hear that anything is possible no matter what you're going through in life. Whether you're ill, mentally ill, chronically ill, terminally ill, whatever it is in life, you have a purpose here, and leave a legacy. It doesn't have to be $1 million to your kids when you die, or, a house or whatever it is, but show that you served a purpose here. I believe right now that I was meant to be able to listen and try to find solutions for people, or at least to hear a story and say, oh, I thought I had it bad. And I know I haven't had as bad as a lot of other people. I'm very grateful for my life. I had a good childhood, and I love my life, and I love my friends. But other people have it worse than you and everything. But I believe my purpose here, once I'm gone, is that they're going to like, she was a good person. She really listened and tried to make a difference. And that's what I want to be known for.
Cool. I love it. Yeah. I'm still working on that ultimate purpose thing, but this has come so easily. I think it's really learning about people and what makes us tick so that we can be more fully human, whatever that really means.
Absolutely. And I have to be honest with you. You are very easy to talk to, very open, and have great questions.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. Our 2 bonus questions are: how do you integrate the feedback, which we define as positive, wanted, and constructive, and negative, unwanted, and challenging?
Okay. How to interpret positive feedback?
Or integrate, yes.
Integrate positive feedback. I think giving feedback to someone positive, is there, or me taking it in? Which one do you?
People have taken it different ways. You can do both.
Okay. Giving positive feedback, I always thought, for me personally, is a very important thing to give people. It's part of who I am. I was teaching a little boy how to swim yesterday. His family didn't want to teach him to swim, and they threw him in the pool, and I'm like, that's not good. So I taught him how to swim, and and he wasn't doing so good, but I kept saying, you're so good. Keep it up. Be proud of yourself, and here, high five. And seeing him light up like that, it's like nobody had ever given him positive feedback before. So to me, it's important, even if it's not the best thing in the world, to integrate that into every part of my life. When I see people, is just be positive. And even at the supermarket, I'm always striking up conversation. Thank you. How's your day? To the cashier. This was great. You were really quick today. I appreciate it. Anything. I'm always thanking people. So
me too.
I think that's really important, to just keep that positive stuff, because that makes you feel good. Right. So if you're positive, your positive attitude is always going to rub off, because people are like, you're in such a good mood. That made me happy today. And it's like,
infectious.
Your head down like this, like,
really? Be infectious. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also said, when we were talking before, open-ended questions.
Oh yeah, always. You have to. You can't. Yes or no questions are disastrous.
So how do you get better at open-ended questions? Because as a coach, that's a skill.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to really get to know the person and ask them wide open questions about things that they're interested in, because people are more apt to answer questions if they're interested in the topic. So gear it around them specifically. Find out what their interests are, what their hobbies are. Are they married? Do they have children? So if you start asking questions, then they're more apt to be more involved.
That's true. How about in an intimate relationship?
Well, that's interesting.
You know people better there. It's harder to ask open-ended questions.
It is, but I think it's important, because so many times I've ignored those red flags.
Yeah.
So you need to ask those questions.
Yeah.
Because it's the worst thing. You hear about people that get married and they really didn't know the person they're living with until they lived with them. And it's like, that's a disaster. So it's important to just, no matter who it is in your life, to just keeping those questions open and not be afraid to ask them. Like, how many people I know are married and they walk around on eggshells around their spouses because they're afraid they're going to get mad.
Yeah. And it's interesting. You've heard of Alison Armstrong?
Mm-hmm.
I love her, right?
Yeah.
And understanding men and all these things. And she says, recently I heard one of the things she said, and she said, beware of the thing that's too hard.
Mm-hmm.
That's that eggshell thing.
That's right. I've lived in those situations. It's a terrible place to be because you're holding it in your gut, so you start getting stomach aches. You can't eat. I mean, that was a lot of my childhood. I kept so much in, and it wasn't until I was free to just be me,
Mhm.
authentic me, that I
No,
felt better. And I think a lot of it has to do with why I'm sick today. I mean, if you look into things, there are reasons why things happen, and that's why I truly believe I could heal myself, and that's what I'm working on now. Because I always put everybody ahead of me,
mm,
and it's time for me now to really figure this out, like not see this illness go away, and all of that. So you got to let things out, and to walk around on eggshells, you can't have that in a relationship, whether it's your mother, father, sister, brother, girlfriend,
absolutely.
it doesn't matter. You've got to be authentic and open. Don't be afraid.
That's right. I just dealt with some of that myself.
Hmm.
Just in life. So what about the negative feedback? How do you integrate that?
I try to change it into a positive.
How do you do that?
Well, if somebody says, if you say somebody says something negative to me, well, or a general conversation, I'm talking to somebody, and negative Nelly, I call them. How you doing today? Like, I had this happen to me. This is a real thing that happened. I had just come back from the doctor having my chemo.
Mm-hmm.
A friend called, "How you doing?" "Okay." Now, I didn't get into, like, I feel like crap. I had such a bad day at work. My boss was a bitch. My back hurts me, and I'm thinking, lady, I just had chemotherapy and you're complaining about your job, your back. So I turn it into, so anything good happened to you today? And I've actually had to let people go in my life by telling them, honestly, right now, I only need to have positivity around me. And if you can't speak positive, I'm sorry, but at this moment, I need to hang up, or whatever. And people are like, oh, I didn't mean that. And that makes them think about what they say. But I try to put a positive spin on things when people bring up negative stuff by just saying, you know, okay, well, that was bad, but what good's going to come out of this negative situation? And that'll start another conversation that may bring the person up. Because I can't be around it. I just can't
That's
be
right.
around
And if
negativity.
not, you just kind of lean it's not avoidance, or you just lean toward what is good,
That's
and
right.
they just kind of fall away.
That's right. I've
Yeah.
noticed that my circles come so much smaller, but it's healthier
Hmm.
because I choose who's in my tribe and who I surround myself with. And that includes family,
Hmm.
because you need to be healthy in mind, body, and spirit. In order to do that, you have to surround yourself with that. So if you've got that outside forces coming in, you've got to block it, just like with anything else. So until people can be in your place where you need to be, you have to let them go. And if they want to be in your life, they'll change, or at least try to.
Yeah, that's right. And if not, cut the cords and all that.
Exactly.
And the last one is, how do you handle change?
I love a change. I thrive on change. I didn't think I'd ever say that, but I do. Um, I had decided that I didn't, with COVID, that I was not going to stay in New York in the winter one more day. And I asked a friend to look at a condo in Florida, and she said, it's nice. She sent me a picture, and I came down by
See?
myself. I'm down here now, a year and a half, and I'm loving it. I forgot about everything negative that had happened up north,
Sure.
and I'm adapting. I'm finding new friends, new community, new church, new everything, and I'm just breathing a different way of life. It's just, I'm blessed, and change is good. Change is really good. You have to look at it that way. Why take it negatively?
That's
Yeah, I mean, if there's a death and something, that changes things, and that's things are out of your control. But things that are in your control,
right. Yeah.
embrace them. Embrace that change.
Seth Godin, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love him. And he says,
Yeah.
today we're things are adapting, evolving, whatever the words are, everything has
Mm-hmm.
latent meanings. But it's more risky not to adapt and not to change.
Take the chance.
Yeah. I love it. That's so good. Well, Dr. Bev, what else would you like to add? What would you like to say today? What's on your heart?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for asking me to be a guest on this
Yeah.
show. It's been a wonderful experience. I hope that your viewers really got something from this. And I'm here just to teach, preach, whatever it is, that there is life beyond bad things that happen to you.
Nice.
You can grow from them. You learn. And sometimes they really tear you down. I always felt I was a weak person, but getting beat so many times with the no, you can't, you're not good enough, brought me to a place like I am stronger and bigger, and I can do anything I put my mind to. And that's what I tell everybody. It doesn't matter where you come from. You know, you blame your parents because you were brought up a certain way. Stop blaming them, because that's them. That was their life. You can't change your parents, or you can't change your spouse, or whatever it is. Only you have control over yourself. So what you need to do is just believe in you, live your best life, and stay true to yourself authentically. And that's what I would tell anyone. If you are having issues, talk to people, keep your lines of communication open, don't hide. Just be yourself. And as long as you can be yourself.
What does they say? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Absolutely.
The answers will come.
They always do. In the strangest ways. But you have to be open to it. Listen to yourself. It comes from here. It truly does. The mind
has a connection too.
There's a big connection there.
Between the heart and the head.
There's no coincidences, I believe. And when you hear that little voice, that's your subconscious mind telling you what you need to hear. That is who you are. So don't ignore that. If you hear that and something's telling you no, bold letters, you have to listen to it. Like how many times you're driving on the road and something's telling you pull over, and you do, and thank God because there was an accident ahead, or things like that. Anytime you get that little feeling inside, that's your subconscious mind telling you, listen.
Yeah, your intuitive sense.
People to always listen.
Honor it and don't dull it. Honor it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You're so cool. This is great.
And if anybody wants to talk to me, I have a website. It's drboyarsky.com. It's BOYARSKY.com.
As you see right here on the screen.
Yes, that's it. It's drboyarsky.com. I'm also on Facebook, Beverly Boyarsky, Instagram, and TikTok, Rev Dr. Bev. And I have a book, it's called Dr. Bevisms. I look a little different then. That was before I had long hair. But it's available on Amazon. And during the time that I was so sick, I had quotes come to me, I believe, from God, and I used to write them down. So that's what I have in there. And I put a lot of them on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So if you go on my page daily, I put a lot of my Dr. Bevisms with some music and everything. So I hope that people get something out of that.
Awesome. Well, I've so enjoyed this. This is so wonderful. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Awesome. Well, everybody, this has been the Overcomer's Quest podcast, episode number 81, where we inspire you to find more in your life by overcoming. And we talk with amazing people. And you didn't even talk about some of the amazing things that you've done in your life, but look her up. She's pretty amazing. And you're this approachable and authentic. And I honor that. You're Dr. Bev, a metaphysician, hypnotherapist, and an ordained minister who has overcome fear of who I am to everyone, death through illness, and pleasing everyone, or being authentic. Our theme today was being grateful and sharing your purpose despite what happens to you in life. And you are living out that purpose, that you have been here and you have a purpose. Yes. And I just pray blessings upon you and greater things. Yes. And thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone, never forget, as you're overcomers, never forget you're amazing. And we will see you next time. Take care. If I can hit the button here. Take care, everybody.